book. This is the first time I've ever gone Facebook Live. This is my first ever Facebook Live. Okay.
You can do it on the Lucas fan page too.
Okay, you can do it on the Lucas fan page. This is on my personal. So we're going Facebook Live. My brother Alex is in the studio, and a lot of people think that in our family, because I've done a morning show all over the country, that I'm the talented one in the family. But the truth be told, my brother Alex is the talented one in our family. And you're about to hear why. Okay, are you ready? So I told you he's all about cartoons, TVs, and movies. I'm just gonna rattle off random things, and you're gonna hear the impression and then the actual lines from the movie. Are you ready?
Okay.
Alex, are you ready?
I think so.
All right, let me face this over to Al. All right, give me Bugs Bunny and Little Red Riding Hood from Saturday morning cartoons.
Da! 5 o'clock whistles on the blink and my papa's at work so waiting. He's still in the factory cause he doesn't know what time it happens to me.
And then...
Yeah, what's in the basket, gorgeous? I'm taking this bunny rabbit for my grandma. Ta-ha, see? He's got a nice pair of stems for a rabbit. Yeah, he's got a cute face too, see?
I love it. Okay, now we're gonna switch gears. Go from that to Droopy the dog. Listen, watch this.
Mr. Dragon, do you know what? I'm gonna slay you.
Love it. Now, what about Sylvester the cat? Remember the Sylvester the cat from Saturday morning?
Oh, Father. Oh, the shame of it all. How can I ever show my face again? Now, wait a minute, son.
It just cracks me up to watch him do like cartoons. A grown man that does all the cartoons. All right, what about Shaggy and Scooby?
Why, hey, Scoob Man, was that ghost scary? Yeah, scary.
That's great. Okay, what about movies, like cartoon movies, like Aladdin? Give me something from Aladdin, the movie.
Calm yourself, Iago. The obviously Gazing was less than worthy.
Oh, there's a big surprise. I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise. What are we gonna do? We got a big problem here.
Yes. Only one may enter. We must find this one, this diamond in the rough.
So he knows like all the words, like he knows the lines. It's not just it's not that he does these great impressions. He knows the lines for the movie. Dude, I've never seen Beauty and the Beast, but Kareth, you've seen it.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so Kareth knows Beauty and the Beast. Give us something from Beauty and the Beast.
Wow, Gaston, you're the greatest hunter in the whole world. No beast alive stands a chance against you. No girl, for that matter.
It's true, LeFou, and I've got my sights set on that one.
The inventor's daughter? Yeah, but she's...
The most beautiful girl in town, and that makes her the best. Don't I deserve the best?
Well, yeah, but...
Can you say, stay out of the West Wing? Do you do that one?
Oh, sure. There's a stranger here. What are you doing here?
Please, I meant no harm. I lost my horse.
What the heck are you guys doing? I don't know that movie. All right, last one. So now we're in the movie thing. This is the last thing. So I got 3 movies that I want you to do. First, do Mrs. Doubtfire, because you do a great Mrs. Doubtfire. Ready?
Oh, dear, I saw the whole thing. It was run by Fruiting the terrorists. They were in that... Wait.
What's gonna work? Teamwork. What's gonna work? Teamwork. We're on our way. Save the baby pigeons, save the rest of the day. We're not too big and we're not too tough, but when we work together, we got the right stuff. Go Wonderballs! Yay! without you, and I miss you all the time, and you're not ever here in my arms with me. I miss spooning with you when we get naked and get physical with each other and buying each other new panties. I miss all that, and you're not here to do that anymore, and it's real hard on me. It's real hard. I just cry myself to sleep all the time, so just want to sing a little song for you, just so you know my affection for you. I wanna know what love is. Bum, 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 bum. Want you to show me. I wanna know what love is. Need you to show me. Miss you so much, baby. One more thing for you.
Text communication July 9th, 2019 between Lori Vallow and Melani Boudreaux. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you read those into the record, please?
Yes. Line 3135 from Lori Vallow to Melani Boudreaux. They have an elaborate plan. I'll call you soon. Line 3134 from Melani Boudreaux to Lori Vallow. I could take all the babies with and drive and take our stuff. Line 3133 from Lori Vallow to Melani Boudreaux. You can't go at all. We both need to stay here to defend ourselves. Line 3132 from Lori Vallow to Melani Boudreaux. It's coming to a head. This week will change everything.
Okay. Why did you include that particular series of text from Lori Vallow in your summary?
Your Honor, the only way you can answer that is through hearsay evidence.
I'll sustain that objection.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I guess I don't understand the objection.
Your Honor, would the court like me to clarify?
May we approach sidebar? Because I really don't understand.
Well, I'd like to have the question reread, please. The question, I misheard that. I'll overrule that objection.
Thank you.
Apologies.
Thank you.
Do I have it repeated? I'm sorry.
Why did you include that?
Okay. The timeline in this case is important. So this text string took place in the evening of July 9th, 2019, which is approximately 36 hours before Charles Vallow was killed. These texts are a reference to events surrounding that.
And Judge, I'm going to object, just for the record, that the only way he could have gotten that information was specifically to Melani Boudreaux is through hearsay evidence from Melani Boudreaux.
All right. Well, he's testified it's through information obtained through these iCloud accounts. So for that, and because they've been admitted, I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you.
All right. And so the timing of this communication by Lori Vallow was significant to you in relation to the death of Charles Vallow?
Correct.
Okay. And in the text, it was a text from Lori Vallow. In her own words, it's coming to a head. This week will change everything.
Yes.
In context of the investigation and the overall review of the iCloud, what does it's coming to a head mean to you?
It's a reference to the marriage between Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow. Their marriage, from the communications and the totality of the investigation, had deteriorated substantially.
And I'll object to speculation that she's calling for him to speculate as to what these texts mean.
I'll sustain that.
And ask to strike that from the record.
All right. The final part of that answer will be stricken from the record based on the objection. The jury's instructed not to please consider that particular response.
So in your review of the evidence, in your review of the iCloud, did you learn from the defendant's own words that her marriage to Charles Vallow was deteriorated?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, I believe you earlier talked about that she characterized Charles Vallow as an obstacle. Is that correct?
That's argumentative, Judge.
Overruled.
It was actually Chad Daybell who used the phrase obstacles relating or in connection with these individuals.
Okay. And so it's coming to a head, that statement from the defendant. Was there evidence within the iCloud that you reviewed, the defendant's own words, that reflected whether or not she wanted Charles Vallow out of her life as her husband?
Yes.
Okay. Let's turn to some additional text from Lolly Time on July 9th, 2019, reflected in the next slide. Could you please look at lines 3120 and 3072? Do you see those?
I do.
Could you read those into the record, please?
Yes. Line 3120 from Lori Vallow to Alex Cox. Getting sleepy, so I'm going to need you to stay close to me the next couple days. Mel too. She can't go to Utah. They are planking some kind of intervention, but want Mel out of the way, so I'm left alone. I need to come get the stuff at your house tomorrow and secure it. Lots to do. Thank you for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. Line 3072, text from Lori Vallow to Melani Boudreaux. Al is here. Charles says he will come over in the morning.
Why did you include this particular, these particular texts from Lori Vallow to Alex Cox and Melani Boudreaux in your summary?
Your Honor, I'll object that these takes things out of context. He specifically stated that he is going in line by line, and it looks like there's almost 100 lines between these two texts.
I'll overrule the objection, and I think it's appropriate for cross-examination. Then, Mr. Thomas.
Very good, thank you.
I'm sorry, the question was, why did you include these particular text communications from Lori Vallow to Alex Cox and Melani Boudreaux in your summary?
During the course of the investigation, we found out that Adam Cox, another brother of Lori Vallow, had flown in conjunction with Charles Vallow to try to approach Lori regarding the things that were taking place. And so that's why I included these communications.
Okay. And turning to line 3120, I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. In your review of the evidence and your research on the items of relevance in the iCloud account, what is Nephi?
Nephi is the name of an ancient prophet whose life is documented or chronicled in a book of scripture called the Book of Mormon. And so he is one of that book of scripture spans from 600 BC to roughly 400 AD, and Nephi is one of the first prophets that is documented in that particular book.
Okay. And the phrase, I will be like Nephi, other than an ancient prophet, was there significance to the investigation that merited review in the use of the word Nephi as applied to Lori Vallow and Alex Cox?
Objection. Calls for speculation. He's already indicated that Nephi is found throughout the Book of Mormon, which is hundreds of pages long.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you.
In terms of Lori's use and her own words identifying herself as Nephi, what were the situations involving Nephi that were relevant to the investigations?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
I think there need to be some additional foundation. You're going to go into that term and what it means in the context of these communications.
Okay. So in terms of foundation, are you aware of historical attributes or story significance to the prophet Nephi?
I am.
Okay. What were the historic accounts related to the prophet Nephi?
Okay, objection vague. There are hundreds of stories about Nephi.
That's overruled.
Thank you.
The witness knows, the witness can answer.
The primary one relates to an incident where Nephi was commanded by God to slay an individual named Laban.
Your Honor, I'm going to object as this is speculative.
Overruled.
I'm sorry, you can keep going. You said it was about Nephi was commanded to slay Laban.
Yes.
And what was the rest of that particular historic accounting of the prophet Nephi?
Simply put, Laban was in possession of records that Nephi and his family wanted to possess before they left Jerusalem. And Nephi was commanded by God to slay Laban to obtain those records.
Okay. And so was Laban considered a good guy or a bad guy?
Bad guy.
Again, Your Honor, based on his response to the question, I believe it's irrelevant, and it specifically doesn't have anything to do with the crime that's charged here, and it doesn't even correlate.
Well, there's a reference to the term in the text, and I'll allow a little more on this, but it's getting outside the scope of, I think, what's relevant. Pretty quick here, Ms. Smith.
The defendant herself likened herself to Nephi, correct?
Yes.
And the defendant likened Alex Cox to Nephi, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if I understand correctly, Nephi was commanded to kill Laban.
That's correct.
I'm going to object as to vague. Nephi was commanded to do lots of things.
Overruled.
And the date that the defendant likens herself to Nephi was July 9th, 2019?
Yes.
She also told Alex he was like Nephi, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in the text communication from Lori Vallow to Melani Boudreaux, did Lori Vallow indicate on July 10th, 2019, that Alex Cox was with her?
Yes.
Okay. Now, defense counsel pointed out, and we're going to chat about this in a minute, I noticed that there's a line number and a date, and then it appears to have a different line number and a different date in your summary. Why didn't you include every text between those two?
If I included every text between the two accounts, we would be at well over 8,000 text messages. And so I chose those texts that I felt were in context and were relevant. But oftentimes there would be 3 or 4 people texting with Lori Vallow at the same time, and some of those texts in between have no relevance whatsoever to this case. Other texts were very redundant. We see the same type of communication over and over and over again. And so I chose those text messages that I believed were relevant to this case and was cautious not to prepare this summary exhibit where I'm taking things out of context.
Okay.
So as I was kind of pulling in, they lifted their back window.
Okay.
I saw a muzzle. They shot.
Brandon Boudreaux, the ex-husband of Lori Vallow Daybell's niece, describing someone shooting at him in October of 2019. Now prosecutors in Arizona say Lori's brother fired the shot and she was part of the plan to kill him.
My kids have been held out of state.
You were also criminally trespassed over the phone by me.
But what about Lori's niece, Melani Boudreaux Pawlowski, Brandon's ex-wife? Could she be charged? Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. A reporter in Arizona, Justin Lum, is reporting that a Maricopa County grand jury indicted Lori Vallow Daybell in February of 2022 on one count of conspiracy to commit the first-degree murder of Brandon Boudreaux. But that indictment is sealed. Vallow Daybell was already facing a conspiracy charge in Arizona for the murder of her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, in July of 2019. Nearly 3 months after Charles's murder, in October, body camera video captured Brandon Boudreaux telling Gilbert police officers that someone fired at him as he was pulling up to his home.
I noticed a green Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
It's like a pukey green color. Had a Texas plate. I just moved in a week ago, so I thought maybe it was just my neighbor.
Okay.
So as I was kind of pulling in, they lifted their back window.
Okay.
I saw a muzzle. They shot.
Are we talking a real gun, a BB gun?
It's got to be like a BB gun or an airsoft.
Okay, so they shot, then what happened?
it hit my window, and instead of turning in, it scared me really bad.
Okay.
I thought, I'm getting shot at, so I drove straight. So
Okay.
I drove straight really fast.
Okay.
Pulled around the corner, got my phone out, called 911.
The indictment charging Lori with conspiracy says that Alex Cox was the shooter. Brandon Boudreaux was in the middle of divorcing Lori's niece, Melani Boudreaux Pawlowski, at the time. Brandon and Melani have 4 children together. The following month, on November 15th, 2019, Melani appeared at the home of Brandon's parents in Salt Lake City.
My kids have been held out of state.
You were also criminally trespassed over the phone by me. You were
I asked
warned.
an officer to come here last night to do a check-in because I'm worried they're in danger.
But you came over here after being told that you were criminally trespassed.
But I have an agreement saying that
from this residence, correct?
But my order says that it's my time with my kids. They're supposed to be in Arizona. My husband's kept them out of school.
Trespassed from this location.
Melani made a curious request during her interaction with police.
Do you have a victim's advocate I can speak to in the police department, please?
The language that Melani used, asking for a victim's advocate, was eerily similar to an interaction that her aunt, Lori Vallow had with police following the fatal shooting of Charles by Alex Cox just 4 months earlier.
So this is Denise.
Hi. Hi. Sorry.
So she's gonna take you over to like a conference room so you guys can sit and talk and stuff.
Fast forward to that night in November of 2019, Melani was not alone.
Hello. What's up, Alex?
Yeah.
You have your ID on you, man?
Yeah.
Let me get that from you real quick.
Can I open the door? I just gotta.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
if you need
basically
to.
my back pocket.
Just keep your hands out where we can see them, all right?
No
You're good.
problema.
That was Alex Cox with his niece that night. Given the allegations now that Alex tried to shoot and kill Brandon Boudreaux, this video looks a lot different. Police took Melani into custody that night, adding a domestic violence enhancement to the charge.
All right, Melanie. Today you're going to be receiving a citation for criminal trespass.
Melani was later convicted of that charge and sentenced to probation. Law and Crime's Gigi McKelvey, who hosts the Pretty Lies and Alibis podcast, says Melani and Brandon's children were discussed during testimony at Lori's Idaho murder trial. They were referred to as dark, meaning they were possessed by zombies or evil spirits. People who were dark in Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell's orbit typically ended up dead.
We learned during the trial that 3 of her children were dark, so thank goodness she didn't get her hands on her kids. But it's interesting because we know Melani Pawlowski did not testify at this hearing. She was there in the courtroom for several, or not in the courtroom, but she was in the courthouse for several days and never went on the stand. So my theory, honestly, is that maybe they didn't call her because she's going to face charges in Arizona for Brandon, and maybe the prosecution just felt like that needed to be its own thing. They got their guilty verdict. So at the end of the day, her testimony really wasn't needed. So I think that the both of them could be in hot water in Arizona, but it did include that date for Lori specifically. So it looks like maybe they have some sort of digital evidence that she was in on that conspiracy.
I've reached out to the attorneys for Melani Boudreaux Pawlowski to ask them about why she was not called to testify at the trial and whether or not it's possible she could be charged in the attempt on Brandon's life. So far, they have not responded. For Law and Crime, I'm Anjanette Levy.